So let's get into some of the rejection letters that you sent me before the podcast. And to give some background information, these are from your most recent story called Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
And Calvin Klein deals with a lot of racial issues. It deals with reparations. It deals with a lot of the things that are going on now, like the George Floyd killing. And it's kind of like an extremist overcorrection view of what's going on today. Mm-hmm. And I picked out a couple of quotes that were startling and also like kind of funny because they were saying you're good, but we're not taking your story.
Yeah, that's an overarching thing.
Yeah, basically, I wrote that. I was like, common theme, like story's good. We're not taking it though.
Yeah, good writer. Terrible story.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the first quote that I picked out about Calvin Klein. And this person writes, "Listen, you're clearly a really talented writer. That's obvious. But this story is insensitive. As much as I admire your writing ability, this story will cause outrage. I'm going to have to pass, but feel free to send me anything that's less controversial."
Yeah.
And the second one, this is from a different rejection, same story though. "This story, Calvin Klein, is absolutely brazen, irreverent, twisted, but at the same time, absolutely brilliant. As much as I admire this startling story, I'm afraid I'll be absolutely crucified for publishing this. LOL."
Yep.
This person wrote LOL.
Mm-hmm.
"I wish I possessed the temerity to put out a piece like this, but alas, I must obey the power it be." So I wrote down 3 themes from, I think there were 5 or 6 different rejections. All of them had these in it. They said, 1, your story is good. Mm-hmm. 2, it's controversial. Mm-hmm. And 3, some sort of bowing to the powers that be. Like, I'm not rejecting this story. It's the people above me that won't accept this. So it's like, in a way, they're not having the balls to say, I'm rejecting this story. It's like, I want to take it, but I'm like bowing down to the people that are writing me a paycheck.
And I think that in general, it will be the downfall of the literature in general. It's like, we don't want to publish things that will make people uncomfortable. And it's like, how much can you really learn about life if you're always comfortable? You know, like that's a fucking Disney movie right there. Yeah. You know, just always comfortable. You know, so luckily somebody did accept the story, and I do understand the concerns, but you know, my whole objective with the story was to kind of craft a 1984-esque story, but just with extreme hyperbolic sort of details. You know, and I'm not, you know, trying to be insensitive entirely, but I just thought it would be interesting to see all of these, you know, progressive sort of policies implemented and to see what life could be like in 12 years if every sort of policy that is proposed gets passed, you know. And the whole concept of this Calvin Klein story is I was going to, before this whole, you know, this crazy summer happened, you know, with all these, you know, crazy events, I had this idea of, you know, I wanted to write a story from you know, that outlines children. You know, I think we have a lot to learn from children, you know, as weird as that is. I think that there's an essence of a child that we need to hold on to, what it's like to be a kid, to be wondrous and to be enthralled with the simple aspects of life, you know? And I think that we need to kind of harness our inner child to some capacity, you know, as an adult. I think that we take ourselves way too fucking serious, you know, and especially as a writer, you know, you're dealing with constant criticism, constant rejection. So I think that you know, to some capacity have to be able to laugh at it all, going back to the absurd, you know.
Yeah.
You have to look at life like it's fucking absurd. Otherwise, you're going to fucking blow your brains out, you know.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that the people who wrote those rejection letters clearly recognized that the story was good and got that the details in the story are meant to be over the top and extreme and painting an absurd picture.
Yeah.
but they don't have confidence in the readers to make that same judgment that, oh, this is not meant to be, you know, taken 100% seriously. That yes, there are commentaries on society of what's going on now, and then this writer extrapolating that into an absurdist future. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I can recognize that it's a story, and the rejectors recognize that, but they don't have confidence in the readers for whatever reason to make the same conclusions.
Yeah. And I mean, at this point in time, I am so like a nerd with Rejection. You know, for a while, Rejection made me bitter, and now it's making me better. Like, I thrive on it. When I get these rejection letters, I'm like, good, fuck you. I'm going to get this published. You know, like, you have to, like, as a writer, as a copywriter, like, I've dealt with so much criticism, so much rejection. You know, I worked a year as a copywriter for a pharmaceutical agency, and, you know, I would spend hours on the weekend crafting a campaign just to have it fucking torn apart in front of 5 executives on a Monday morning, you know? So, like, at this point in time, like, I could give a shit about rejection. And I think that plays a major role in a lot of writers' life. Like, you have to get a thick skin. You can't take anything personally. And, you know, based on this, like, I had so many rejection letters for the story. All it took was one person to be like, this story's fucking awesome. Like, hell yeah, I'm publishing it. And the next thing you know, it's published, you know? So,
what do you think was different about that publication that they decided to put it out there, and the other ones, for whatever reason, decided not to? So at this point in time, like, so my main goal is that I ventured into writing these short stories because I needed to build up some sort of credibility. I'm about halfway done with a novel, a manuscript that I'm going to start pitching probably by the summer at some point. And I needed to kind of build up credentials. I have a couple of short stories that I've published. I have the story, The Swim, that won the Best in Fiction at Across the Margin, an e-zine magazine. I had Finn Almost Buys a Goldfish, which is nominated for an Emerging Writers Award. And which I voted for.
Okay, awesome.
The other guys. No, I'm just kidding.
That's all good. Man.
No, I voted for Chris Cooper, Emerging Writers Award. Finn Almost Buys a Goldfish, right? That was that one. Okay.
Which is my favorite fucking story. But you know, this is all like an amalgamation of what it's like to be a writer. And I think the most maddening aspect of being a writer is that this industry is rife with subjectivity. You know, it's not like you're a fucking accountant and it's like, if I add 1 + 1, it's going to equal 2 every fucking time. You know, like, there is no algorithm. There's no formula for good writing. It's all about personal opinion. It's all about bias, you know?
Yeah.
And you've just got to send it out there and hopefully somebody identifies with it.
So Finn Almost Buys a Goldfish is your favorite?
It is my favorite story because I wrote it one night, just smoked a ton of weed, and it just fucking came out.
That makes a lot of sense knowing the story in a good way.
Yeah. And it was so effortless. Like, I was just sitting there, and the next thing I know, I'm like, it's almost 5,000 words. I'm like, holy shit, what time is it? You know?